All right, we're going here. All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the show. Uh, I got a treat for you. Larry's fired up, so y'all get ready.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Well,
Uh-oh.
I have some things to update. So we recorded an episode that was really good, and I wish y'all could hear it if Skype hadn't deleted the video. But we had a listener send us an email, and we asked him to come on the show, and we were going to ask him all kinds of questions, and we did, and it was wonderful, and we had a great time. And I went to download it to get the audio off of it, and it's gone. Skype freaking deleted it.
I didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. Well, you do now. So
Damn,
the last
that was a good one.
Oh, I know. It was so good. And we just have to take our word for it. So I just yesterday it'll be the episode before this one. I did a YouTube video. It's on Facebook as well, about does Landstar really take 35%? And that's something that everybody needs to hear about. So I got my opportunity to rant and rave yesterday by myself. So now we're going to turn Larry loose and let him talk about some stuff that's been aggravating him this week. And I'm with him on this. We've talked just a few minutes about this before we started recording. But here's what I love real quick. Here's what I love about this format and this environment that we live in. There are no rules. We turn on the microphones and we make the rules. And so we can say anything we want to say, any way we want to say it. And there's nobody anywhere to tell us no, except our listeners. And if y'all like it, great. If you don't like it, that's okay too. But a good friend of mine has a line that says, the truth will make you mad before it makes you free. And so sometimes we may have to take a chance on making you mad and hurting your feelings a little bit in order for you to get the information you need to set yourself free from the slavery of your own mind. So, Larry, go ahead.
Okay. Well, you may or may not know, but we had an unexpected vacancy in our fleet. Without going into too many details, one of our drivers has got a personal situation at home, and he needs to be there, and he can't stay over the road. He's going to have to get back into a local situation. And this has kind of been something we were a little bit concerned about, but all of a sudden it's gotten to be where now it's happening. So we've been looking at all of the applicants that we have had from all you great listeners who listen to the podcast and have submitted applications and whatnot. And so we started going through those and trying to figure out who would be a good fit in this unusual situation, because we're kind of under the gun here. The sooner we get somebody on, the sooner he can get to doing what he needs to do. And so it's not like it normally is with us, where we've got plenty of time because we're buying a truck and we've got to get the truck refurbished, and you got plenty of time to go through the process. We're kind of looking for someone that could accelerate through the process and get on with us rather quicker, sooner rather than later. So anyway, what I'm getting at here is that it gave us a chance to go over a lot of these applications, and we sent out letters to everybody that we had emails for. I was a little bit disappointed that either people don't read their email or it went into spam, but whatever the reason was, we didn't have a great response to the letter. So again, giving you benefit of the doubt, I went through and I sent a text to everybody that we had emails for and phone numbers for. And we had a much better response on that. So it made me think that the email thing, either you guys don't read your email or this just went into spam, or you didn't see the subject and you deleted it. I get all that. But so we got the text. We got several people that expressed an interest, and we set up some interviews over Skype with Chris and the interviewee and myself. And we sort of narrowed it down to a handful of people, and it became obvious to me during the scope or the course of these interviews that some of you all, most of you all of you all, you just don't get it. I mean, you're worried about things that don't matter. Let me kind of just say what I want to say here, okay? And I'm not going to step on anybody's toes because it's not directed to any one individual.
It was a theme. There was a theme.
But let me remind you what we do. And again, here's what aggravates the hell out of me. We've probably got 25 hours of podcasts between the two of us since episode 49. We've got 15 episodes out there, and they average an hour, some of them an hour and a half. So I'm just going to say 20 hours, okay? And then we spent at least an hour or an hour and a half on a Skype interview, sometimes another hour or an hour and a half on the phone. So after 26 potential hours, we got people asking questions that don't make a hill of beans worth of difference about what we're talking about here, So let me just remind you, all right? We're not a trucking company. I know we think we are, and I've said many, many times, we don't hire truckers. We're not looking to hire truckers. We don't provide jobs to truckers. Now, you may go, well, what the hell? It's Blue Ribbon Logistical Solution. It is. But think of this, okay? What we are doing here is we're using trucking, specifically over-the-road trucking at Landstar, to provide an opportunity for a select number of people to be able to change their life and become wealthy, accomplish more than they ever imagined they ever would accomplish. And trucking is just the tool that we're using to get there. So we provide you a really good job so that you've got a source of income while you're learning these life skills that we teach here on how to become, successful. Well, whatever phrase you want to use. Accomplish your goals, get rich, own a truck, be free, whatever it is that you want to do, whatever you want to call it, we provide the opportunity to do that. And oh, by the way, we don't charge you anything for this. We get paid because you driving our truck generates a profit, enough profit that we can pay you and above. But speaking, let me just update you on something. I got an email today. Owner-operator income fell as market cooled in 2019. The average owner-operator net income last year was $62,992, as reported by ATBS, the largest accounting service for owner-operators in the country. The lowest paid driver in our fleet last year, had he been here for a year, would have made $70,000 to $75,000, more than the average owner-operator with, listen to this now, zero risk. Zero risk. The average owner-operator has a big truck payment, a lot of risk, a lot of stresses and anxieties and running a business and being responsible for a tire blowing out and everything. Nothing. My driver has none of that. And the the lowest paid driver I had made well over what the average owner-operator made last year. One of my drivers made 1.5 times what the average owner-operator made last year with zero risk. So I digress.
I have a question. When ATBS publishes that, do they have any breakdown on that versus who's leased and who's independent? Or are they just saying the average?
They do. I didn't get into the weeds. This was a headline. I know from other headlines that lease operators made more than independent owner operators the past 2 years in a row. So but you can read the. It's an Overdrive newsletter. It's Overdrive magazine. If you want to read it yourself, just there's a digital version of this Overdrive magazine. You can Google it and go there and read it yourself. I'm just reading you the headline. But the point I'm trying to make is that we provide a job, a trucking job, not because that's our end game or our end product. It's again a means to an end. It again is a tool. It allows you to make a good income while you're learning how not to be an owner-operator making $62,992 a year. If that's all I made as an owner-operator, I wouldn't be one. I'd be a company driver for somebody else. I'd work for me. I got a guy making almost $100,000 who doesn't have any responsibility. Why would I want to be an owner-operator making $62,900? Well, I know why it happens, but that's what we're trying to teach you: is how not to be in that situation. And it's easy to understand, but it is not like anything else that you're going to find anywhere else in this industry, and nobody else will tell you. We tell you for free. Our boy Boogie L Boogie, he made fun of us because we give it away every night. We talk, we give it away. It's no secret. You come here, we'll give it to you every day. We'll remind you of it every day, of how to do this and how to do it. We just put together a little spreadsheet that will tell you exactly how to make money at Landstar. A lot more than that. If our drivers that work for me right now owned their own trucks, the least of them would make $150,000 a year. The biggest one would probably make close to $200,000 a year. But they're not ready for that yet. They're not financially ready. They're not ready business-wise. They're not ready in lots of ways. They will be, but right now they're not. And so rather than be one of the 9 out of 10 who get in this and fail, they're smart enough to understand that they need to come here, get the education, do it right the first time, and not do this after they've gone bankrupt. Now, one of my guys wasn't smart enough to do that, but that's a different story. He'll tell you all. He's already told you all about that.
Mm-hmm.
But the point I'm trying to make is that if you're comparing our job with the job you have right now, you're missing the point. We're not hiring you to come drive a truck. We're giving 5 people a year the opportunity to come here and learn how to run a trucking company for a few years, make and save enough money to get wealthy, and then move on and do something else. Or if you choose to stay, that's up to you. But we only use trucking because it's such an easy a place to do it. The entry point is low. The barrier to entry is very low. It doesn't take a whole lot of. It takes zero experience to get in this business. So it just so happened that trucking was the tool that we chose to do this in. But that's not what we're trying to do. Is hire and make truckers. So that's the point I wanted to make, is that if come here for the education, come here for the experience, come here for the knowledge, come here to learn all the things it takes to make you successful in all the different aspects of your life. You can come in here and learning how to find loads and learning how to work with agents. That's a part of it, but that's again just such a small part of it. Coming here and understanding what a profit and loss statement is, understanding what economics are, understanding market forces, that's what's going to make you successful. Okay. Not whether or not you can find a load in Chicago and back, that's taking the training wheels off the bike. That's all we're doing there, but what we want to do is take you from a bike, from a regular old bike to a 10-speed, well, those other 9 speeds are the things that we're going to teach you that you're not going to get anywhere. Certainly not going to get work for a trucking company. And so when you come here and you compare my job, air quotes, with the job you have, that offends me a little bit, because that's not what we're doing here. We're not giving you a job. We're not trying to sell you on a job. The job is just the thing that allows you to afford the opportunity to take a year and a half to come spend with us to learn this other stuff. without having to, I mean, think of us as a community college, okay? You get to go to school, but you don't have to move away from home, okay? You don't have to move into the dorm. You can stay living at home. Think of it that way. You're going to move you're going to move where you go to work from where you are now to here, and do the same thing you did before for the most part. But now you're going to get, a college education. Where before where you work, what are they? But not only are they not going to give you an education, but they're going to try to do everything they can to keep you from leaving. And by the way, half the things they want to do to keep you from leaving are the things you don't want to do, like lease a truck or rent a truck. So that's my rant. I'm probably not over, but I'm going to pause here and let Chris keep me on track. But that's kind of the thing that the point I wanted to make is that, compare apples to apples, and when you do that, you'll find out that we have a very, very unique opportunity for a very, very small number of people. And when we talk to somebody and you think that this is a lateral move because you're not making that much more money, or the truck that you're driving is an older truck and the truck you're driving is an automatic Volvo, you're missing the point. You're missing the point completely. That's not what we're here for. You identified yourself as, so you listen to the podcast for a reason. I don't know what it is. I wouldn't listen to them, but I'm not you. So you're here because you're starved for information. You're starved for knowledge. Okay, I get that. And we're providing it. But yet you come here and you tell me you want to go to work and you compare the job you have with a job that we give you here. That's the part that pisses me off, because that's not what we're about at all. Not at all. If that's why you're coming here, don't come. Please don't send an application in to drive a truck for us. We don't need it. We don't want it. Now, if you want to learn how to become successful in life and successful in business and become extremely wealthy, we want you. But by all means, we want you. I'm more concerned about your attitude than your driving record. Now, we got to qualify with Landstar. They're concerned about your driving record. I could care less. I could care less how many seatbelt tickets you get. Unfortunately, we have to use Landstar because that's the place where we have the best opportunity. So we have to comply with that. But that doesn't mean anything to me. I'm looking for your attitude. I'm looking for what it is the things that are important to you that aren't driving related. So anyway, Chris, tell me where I'm wrong.
Well, I don't think you're wrong. I think the battle that we're fighting here is conventional thought, around truck purchase. There's such, if any person is going to drive a company truck in this industry, it's going to be a new truck. It's going to be 1 or 2 or 3 years old, because the way you come in the front door of this industry is to come through one of the big training companies, and they're going to put you in a relatively new truck. And so because of that, I think part of that is people believe, well, if I'm going to be an owner operator, I have to own a truck, and this is the kind of truck that I've been driving, so I need to have one of these. And then you mix that with the consumerism of the American market. Well, I have to have a new car or a new pickup truck. I can't, I remember years ago when the gas prices shot up and Dave Ramsey was just having a stroke, because people would go in debt to buy a Prius because they didn't want to pay $40 more a week in gas for their paid for vehicle. It was trading, dollars for dimes. It was stupid. And so I know there are people, I've heard it, but the general industry is, well, you guys drive those old trucks. Yeah, because it works every single time. Every time. It always works. It never not works. When I wish I could explain and articulate the feeling, because I lived it. But if I'm looking in it could be a Landstar group, it could be a trucking group, but I see a post on Facebook about somebody having a breakdown, and it's a, something to do with emissions, and it literally makes me physically ill because I've lived it, and I'm thinking, I wish you wouldn't have put yourself in that position. I wish you didn't have that truck. I wish but do our trucks break down? Sure. They don't break down very much because we spend a lot of time and energy in preventive maintenance to fix things before they break. And that I think right there is a fundamental lack of understanding about trucks and maintenance, wherein people don't take the time to learn the vocabulary of maintenance and learn about how their truck operates, how it works. You don't have to be a mechanic. You don't have to be able to actually take it apart, but you need to understand it. You need to understand the basics of it. You need to understand what the parts are, and then you'll be able to identify them, and you yourself can look and say, okay, well, those spring bushings are getting worn out, or these motor mounts need to be replaced, or this belt is worn, or these rubber hoses are getting old. Or you need to have a relationship with a mechanic that you trust that will get under your truck. Landstar has us do it every 120 days. And I see BCOs and people in these Facebook groups all the time. They're scared to death of a 120. They're terrified of a DOT inspection because they're afraid it's going to cost them money. It should. It should cost you money. You should take that opportunity. You should look forward to that 120 so that somebody you trust that you've built a relationship with can get under your truck and say, well, yeah, it passes right now, but here's something you need to do right now. So before you get to the next one, and let's fix that now before it costs money, because it's a whole hell of a lot more expensive sitting on the side of the road trying to fix something than it is if you take the time and buy the parts cheap and research it out and make time to have that repair done. But there's a basic level of ignorance, and that's a choice of not understanding the basics of how the industry works. And like Larry said, it's not about, can you pick a load from Charlotte to Chicago? Yes, there's an art to picking loads and putting loads together. There's definitely an art to that, and there's definitely a process, and there's definitely a protocol. And it's something that we've both learned over time of how to take these puzzle pieces that don't fit together and make them fit together in order to have a whole week's worth of revenue. But it's understanding customer service and who the customer is, because it's a lot easier to walk through a difficult situation of a load canceling or a product not being ready or getting hung up in a dock or all of the things that happen to us in this industry that a lot of other people in other industries probably don't have to deal with, But we have so many moving parts and so many variables. If you don't have your head screwed on straight and you don't have an attitude that looks down the road beyond what's right in front of your face, it's really easy to get tripped up in small details. And so we just noticed a pattern of people asking the wrong questions when they come to us. And I think that someone will hear what we're doing on the podcast and say, yes, I want to work for them. But then once we begin to talk to them, we hear the questions that they ask, and we understand you're asking the wrong questions, because it doesn't matter if the freight's drop and hook. It doesn't matter if it's live unload. It doesn't matter where it goes. It doesn't matter where it picked up. None of that matters. None of that determines whether or not you're successful. Now, the more freedom you gain, the further down the path you get. You know, you start out with us day one, you don't have a lot of freedom. We're going to pick your loads because we're solely responsible for getting you going. And as you go along down the path, we can give you more and more freedom. And then the ultimate freedom is when you have your own truck. Well, when you have your own truck, you can decide what you want to do, when you want to do it, where you want to do it. I don't want to run here. I don't want to run there. I would rather run this. I want to be home these days. You have all of this freedom. But what you have to understand is that that's what trips up a lot of people that come here. Larry jokes and calls it the Landstar retirement plan, because you come to Landstar as a BCO and there's nobody cracking the whip on you. Nobody. Landstar couldn't care less. If you sit at home for 2 months, I mean, they might call you, make sure you're still alive. And after 10 days, they're going to come get their trailer. But they don't care, because they only get paid if you get paid. So as long as you're paying for your fixed costs, they don't care. So there's nobody there to push you. So if you can't self-motivate, then you'll come over here and you'll sit too much. You'll take too much time off. You'll we heard about a guy this week that took a load to Alaska in February. I mean, Lord have mercy. Okay, But I see, we've been around here long enough to know that we know that guy, whoever he is, bless his heart, saw a load pop up and it said probably $15,000, $17,000, $18,000 to go to Alaska. And he's like, hey, that's awesome. And then he goes up there and realizes, oh, I'm going to have to deadhead 3,000 miles to get out, But that's the kind, I did it. I hadn't been at Landstar 90 days. Took a damn load to Alberta, Canada, and deadheaded 2,500 miles. Well, if you go back to, and I still have those settlements, if you go back and look at those settlements, I had the week before I did that load, I did really well. And the 2 weeks later, I did really well. But you take the two together, and that $8,000 or $10,000 load I took to Alberta, it didn't help me. So,
to be clear, he did that before he worked for me. That's when he was his own BCO. Okay, no way I would ever let him do that. But the point you're making is that guy he came to Landstar, and probably the first time in his trucking career, he had freedom. Okay, because he didn't have to get the load given to him from a load planner through a dispatcher. He found it on the load board himself. Okay, now I know a little bit about this guy since he's kind of become the talk of some of the groups. But the guy had a hard time working with agents, had a hard time picking loads, was sort of at his end, with he just couldn't put it together. I guess desperate would be the word I'm looking for here. Mm-hmm. Finds this load because when you book a load like that, you get to advance about 50% of that. And he needed the money desperately. So let's say it was a $10,000 load, okay? $5,000 in your pocket when you have no money can make you do a lot of things. Mm-hmm. Alaska became secondary to the $5,000. Now, some of this is my speculation, but I'm probably not wrong.
You're more right than wrong, yeah.
Yeah. And so then he jumps on the load in February and takes the 2 weeks to get to Alaska. And guess what? The other $5,000 is gone because he had to buy fuel, and he had to live the 2 weeks it took to get up there. And now he's in Alaska with no load, no promise of a load, because guess what? At Landstar, you have absolute freedom. Okay, Landstar will let you make stupid decisions. Okay, and by the way, they're not going to bail you out when you do. That you run your business, they stay out of your business. Okay, so you want to choose a load that goes to, and by the way, why do you think a load going to Alaska in February paid what it paid? So now we're here in Alaska. We got no money. We just blew through the $5,000 that we made on this load because we've already spent it before we even got settled. Probably his settlement was negative. He probably owed money anyway from negative settlements prior to that. And now I don't have any money to get out of here, and I can't get a load out of here. I got a deadhead out of here. I got to deadhead all the way back to maybe Oregon to get on freight. What's that cost? what do you do? Well, then you do what he did, you know? So freedom, man, that's a tricky word. That's a tricky word, you know? Here's another word that I love to talk about with company drivers. Man, I got a good job and I love the security I have. Well, let's talk about that. Okay? Let me go back in my career long time ago when I was in management in the automotive industry. Good job, free car, benefits, good pay, prestigious position. Monday morning, you walk in and there's a whole new bunch of faces up in the showroom that you've never met before. Let me introduce you to our new general manager. Let me introduce you to his new car manager he's brought with him. Let me introduce you to his used car manager he brought with him. Let me introduce you to the service director he brought with him. Oh, and by the way, he brought his own parts manager and own body shop manager. Well, guess what? All that free car, prestige, benefits that I had on Friday, I didn't have on Monday. But I had a secure, cushy job, 401k, you name it. Well, that's pretty common in the car business, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it's not uncommon in this business. Ask Celadon. Ask 900 other trucking companies that we know of in the news last year, how those secure jobs worked out. So I'm gonna say that you can keep your secure job with all the benefits, because I know that the only secure job is the one where I'm the one that shaves the boss. Because anything less than that, I don't have the control. I can't control something that's given to me. If somebody gives me a job and gives me a vacation and gives me health insurance and gives whatever, gives me a fancy truck to drive, well, tomorrow they can take it away. You know, we talk about one of the biggest problems with the lease purchase is that you can't control the outcome of that, because you can make every payment, and the day before you make the last payment, they can take that back because it's a walk-away lease for both parties. So when you talk to me about your good job, I just laugh inside, okay? Because it doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. The only security in this culture is one that you provide for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
It's the only one. So I don't want to hear about your good job. I don't want to hear about how nice of a job you have, because if it was that nice, you wouldn't be listening to my podcast. Okay? If you're being paid by the mile, I got news for you. The company's making more than you making. If they're paying you 50 cents a mile, they're making $1.50 a mile. Okay? Newsflash. All right? If they're giving you health insurance, it's because they make enough money to pay for that. They're not doing that to be nice.
It's not a charitable organization.
Absolutely not. It's a for-profit corporation. Now, some of them are nonprofit, but that's not how they're set up. Okay?
Yeah.
So the point I'm trying to make is that I'm not competing with that. Okay? You come here, I mean, we do a few things because I can afford to do it, okay? We give you a vacation, after you've been here a year, because you deserve a week off with pay. You work hard, We do a few things for you. But remember, you're coming here to learn how to become self-sufficient, self-employed, run your own business. if you're the guy who runs the business, the benefits are you provide those yourself, you know. So sure, we could come up with health insurance. I don't know why we would do it, because we're trying to teach you how to run your business. Okay, well, health insurance is just it's just like house insurance or car insurance, or it's something else that if you want it, you provide it for yourself and your family. There's no obligation for your employer to do that. That was a scam that they came up back in the 50s when there were caps on salaries. And so the only way they could give you more money is to give it to you in the form of a benefit, because of the unions wouldn't allow you to pay them more money than that. That's how all that got started to begin with. So rather than do that here, and we talk about transparency. We talk about teaching you everything, showing you everything. There's nothing here that we hide. So you know how much we make. You know how much profit is in a load. If I have to give you, or if I choose to give you health insurance, well, guess what? Some of the money is going to come from me. Some of it's going to come from you. But the bottom line, one of the two of us has got to pay for it. Okay? Now, I personally would rather just give you the money. Okay? I don't try to figure out what your car insurance is and provide that for you. I don't try to figure out what your grocery bill is. I'm assuming I'm working with somebody here that has above average intelligence, and health insurance is just another one of those things. If you need it, you provide it. Okay? But it becomes a sticking point for some people because they're at a place where their employer, quote, provides it. But understand, I promise you, if they didn't provide it, they could pay you more. All right? You're choosing to get paid less money and have a benefit. That's a choice you're making. Well, when you decide that you want to be in business for yourself, and for whatever reason you want to go, and I'm looking through all these applications right here, and I'm looking at the reasons: interested in the opportunity to learn, going from employee to owner, make top money, ready to submit to the plan and change my life. I mean, all the reasons here that people come here is to change identity from an employee to an employer, or to be self-employed. Okay? When you do that, you have to cut. You have to quit sucking on the tit and walk away. Okay? Because that no longer is part of your identity. You now are the tit. Okay? You're the one that's providing for yourself and for your employers. You know, that's now on you. So you've got to understand that there's an osmosis that you have to go through here to quit being dependent and quit thinking that secure job is a secure job, because it's not. You know, the security will come with your knowledge and your confidence and your expertise and your ability to run your business successfully, so that you literally are at the controls. Now, getting back to the guy to Alaska, he made every decision. No one made that for him. Okay. Now, I'm sure, like most people, he's got. Well, we know he does, because he said he's got a truck payment. He's behind on his truck payment 2 or 3 weeks, as I recall in the thing. All right. All this pressure, doing business the way most people do it, has done nothing but cause him to fail. Now, what if he had listened to us? What if he went and paid cash for a truck and didn't have a truck payment? Maybe he would have been better equipped to make better decisions. You know, maybe his problem with working with agents and working and finding loads, I'm sure that committee of they has taught him to not haul that cheap freight. I'm sure the committee of they has said, well, you can't do this, you can't do that, you don't do that, you don't do this. And he's learned from the committee of they, you know.
Yeah, they're a bunch of idiots.
Where are they now? Where's the how many of they contributed to his GoFundMe account? Zero.
That'd be zero.
Okay. So, how'd that work out? Listen to they, you know. So the point I'm trying to make is that there's some personal accountability lessons that go along with this. There's, a lot of people come to Landstar. I had this conversation with, I think it was on Facebook today. I see this all the time. Well, I work for Landstar. Matter of fact, you in your Facebook profile says you work for Landstar, which you need to fix because you don't.
That's true.
Nobody works for Landstar except the people down in the corporate office. Landstar is a strategic partner. That's all they are. We choose to do business with Landstar because they are the truest form of the free market that we can find in this industry, where we can run our business the way we want to run it without outside interference and somebody telling us how to do it. And we have the leeway, we have the flexibility, we have the freedom. Use that word again. We have the freedom to do what we do, even though it's counter to what most other people do. We still don't get any pushback from Landstar about how we do business. Everybody knows we do older trucks. Okay. There's a lot of trucking companies we couldn't work with because they have minimum age requirements on the trucks that they lease on. I've had companies call me and want to know if I would take my fleet there. And the first thing I asked them was, what's your age restriction? It was 5 years. No, thank you. Why? I don't have a truck to qualify you. Well, can't you change that? Yeah, I could, but I'm not. Why? Couple of times I've had Landstar, people at Landstar in the contract service want to know if I want to. Do you want us to loan you money for a down payment so you can get a new truck? Hell no. Well, why? Why would you want to drive an older truck? I'm like, well, trust me when I tell you this, that if I won the BCO giveaway, I couldn't drive it to the dealership fast enough to trade it in or to sell it. I wouldn't even trade it in. I would sell it and go buy 5 trucks with it, or 10 trucks, or whatever they give me.
Probably 10.
I could care less what they give me because just give me cash. They probably give away a $125,000 truck. I'm sure I could take it, drive it right back down there and get 100 for it, or 90. I can buy 9 trucks. Okay? Keep your new truck. Could care less. We make decisions here with one thing in mind, and that's the numbers. I've said this before, I kind of make fun of it. I'm not a trucker. My dad wasn't a trucker. My grandfather wasn't a trucker. My mother wasn't a trucker. My sister's not a trucker. I don't know anybody before 2008 that was in the trucking business. Okay? Now, it is ironic that my son's initials are CDL, and I cannot explain that to you. But that is a funny thing that I'll talk about when I get my book published here. But that's the only premonition that I had that I might end up in this business. Okay. But that's not what's important. What's important is that I run my trucking business like any other business. And that is, it has to make sense from a numbers standpoint. Now, I've used this analogy before. I came up with it really off the cuff when I was trying to talk to a bunch of expediters down in Laredo one time. We were all happened to be in the same restaurant, and they overheard me talking about something, and we got talking. There was 4 or 5 of them there at the table. We sat down together, and I was telling them this analogy that just came to my mind when we sat there, and it was bubblegum machines. Okay, I said, let's forget about trucking for a minute. Let's say that we're in the bubblegum business. All right. So you go out and buy a brand new bubblegum machine and you put it in the mall, all right? And you put bubblegum in it. And you walk up to it and you put a quarter in it and it spits out a ball of bubblegum. That's what the machine does, okay? And so somebody walks up, they see your machine, they put a quarter in it, they get a bubble gum. Okay. I come up and I've found an old machine for a fraction of the cost of a new machine. I spend a little money on it, making it look good. I buy the same bubble gum you got, the exact same brand, the exact color. Everything's the same. And I put it in my machine. I put my machine next to yours. But because I don't have the investment that you do, my bubble gum's 10 cents. Okay? And the little kid walks up with his mommy's quarter, and he goes, well, wait a minute. I can get 3 pieces over here for what I can only get 1 piece right there. Even a kid can figure that shit out. Okay? So we sold the same bubble gum. Okay? So let me bring this home. You back up to the dock in a 2004 Century with a Landstar trailer hanging on the back of it, and you back up to the door, and next to you is a 2020 Volvo with a Landstar trailer backed up to it, and the guy's loading it full of freight. Have you ever had anybody walk out in the parking lot and look at those 2 trucks and goes, wait a minute, I'm only going to pay you, or let me reverse that. I'm going to pay you twice as much because you're driving a newer truck than this guy who comes up here in an older truck. Has that ever happened in the history of the world? Okay. No.
Nope.
All right. No, never will. Okay. But now let's go back to the numbers. All right. That guy has a $900 a week truck payment. I have 0. Okay. When I'm looking at the load board and I've got to have $3.50 a mile to move my truck or I lose money, how many loads are on the load board to pay that?
Very few.
Very few. How many loads are on the board at $2 a mile that I can haul for a very nice profit and pay a driver $75,000 to $90,000 to drive, and I make $1,000 a week on top of that for just owning the truck? How many of those loads are there?
Bunch.
30,000. Okay. Now, are we getting a picture here? But we're the lunatics. We're stupid. You drive those old trucks. Your truck's not an automatic. Your truck might not have an APU. Yeah. My truck's paid for.
Mm-hmm.
My drivers make 1.5 times what the average owner-operator makes with 0 risk. Yeah, our trucks break down. Our truck breaks down. We go to TA and sit in the lobby for a couple hours. We're fixed and move on. Your truck breaks down. You got to go to the Volvo dealership and sit there for 3 weeks, especially if it's warranty. Don't get me started on warranties. It's about the numbers, okay? It's about the numbers. If you're in any business, the only thing that matters are the numbers. If it's not, you're not in business. You're in a hobby, okay? There's a difference between having a hobby and having a business.
And I think to take it one step further, let's say, for example, you had $100,000 cash. I still can't justify, because, we're talking about the truck payment, and the truck payment takes away from our income, and it might, we have to cover that in our. Even if I had $100,000 cash, I couldn't justify that investment no more than I could have justified investing in Enron back in the day, or the opportunity cost of the money. I don't care how you look at it. Well, I had the money. Well, fine. If you had the money, I don't care what you do. But let's look at the opportunity cost of that $100,000 that's gone because the truck's value is dropping like a rock. right? And
Y-
we can
You,
buy a truck. We can buy a truck for $10,000. Okay, put 20 in it, drive it for a year. It's lost no value, none. It's still worth 25. Because of course we've documented everything we've done to it. You buy $100,000 truck, and next year it's worth 50.
next week.
Yeah.
Now, folks, let me. This is a monumental occasion right here. This is a truck driver you're looking at right here that just made that comment. A year and a half ago, this was a truck driver, a broke truck driver, okay, that lost his truck. And he just told you from a truck. Now, you heard me say it, but now you've heard a trucker say it. Why would you go spend $100,000 on an item that depreciates? Okay, even if you had the money, that is a non-numbers based decision. Now, look, if you got cash, do with it what you want. Okay, but why would you put $100,000 into something that's going to depreciate $25,000 the first week you own it? Okay, I mean, if you're going to do that, go buy rental property or something that's going to appreciate.
Right.
Again, now this gets back to the wealth part of this. Okay, I mean, I'm sure there's some people that love doing this. Look, I drove a truck, and everybody knows this story. I drove almost 4,000 miles a week, for 5 years, and I made a lot of money, and I worked hard, and I put the blinders on, and I didn't think about it. But now that I'm not driving, and I look back at that, and I think how hard I worked, and I think that, do I want to do that again? Hell no. Okay? Hell no. All right? I've been out of the truck now since December. Do I want to get back in it? Hell no. I've got a truck that's going to be sitting empty here for a couple of weeks. I kind of had the idea that I might jump in it and drive it. And then I decided, hell no. I'm not going to do it. Okay? So let's do this long enough to get ourselves in financial position that we don't have to do this job anymore. This is a dangerous job. Okay? A lot of you can get hurt doing this job. All right? Let's make the money. Let's save the money. Let's invest the money. Let's do something else where you don't have to be away from your family and run up and down the road with these morons all the time. And every night you're in a truck stop with 300 other special people. Come on.
Okay, let me. I'm gonna close this out. I'm gonna do this. Look, I get it because I've been there. It's hard to wrap your head around the fact that right now I am sitting in the seat of a truck that has 1.7 million miles on it.
That I put on.
Okay. That he put on it. Okay. But I mean, I used to hear about trucks that had more than 1 million miles on them. And I just would get this, you would automatically feel like, oh, well, you can't trust that truck. I trust this truck as much as any other truck that I've ever driven, and it has 1.7 million miles. We've got one of our trucks in our fleet has less than 1 million miles, and it's at 875 or something like that.
Right at 900.
So on this other side now, I literally don't even think twice. You tell me a truck's got 1.3 million, 1.4 million, 1.5 million. Okay. Okay. Doesn't bother me a bit because I know that I can take any truck you bring me within reason. I can take any truck you bring me that's 04 to, probably 01 to 07, regardless of the miles. I can take it to my mechanic. I can say, go over it. He'll go over it. He'll give me a list. That list is probably going to cost somewhere between $10,000 and $20,000. We'll fix it, and they'll run it and run it and run it and run it and run it. And as long as the frame don't break, we'll just keep on running it without any hesitation whatsoever. And so I get that's hard to wrap your brain around, because I had a hard time believing that myself. But now I live it.
Well, think about it. Okay? So what do we have in the truck? We pay 10, 15 for it. We spend 20 to 30 at the most usually on it. We've got usually between $30,000 and $40,000 in a truck. Okay? Mm-hmm. Now I just told you, the driver makes $75,000, $80,000, $90,000 in 1 year in that truck. Okay, now remember, we've got 30, 40 in it. Okay, the driver just made $90,000. All right, I made about $50,000 on the truck. Okay, now we've never had this happen, but what if the truck lasted 1 year and just turned into a pile of dust? We made money. Driver made money. I made money. We helped.
Well, is that not the example of the truck that was wrecked? I mean, it's in a pile. It's not dust.
Well, yeah, but I mean, we got paid from the insurance company on that. So I mean, right. But let's just say that it just turned to shit. I mean, it just completely disintegrated.
Right.
You know. Now, what if that was $100,000 truck? Okay. How many years do we have to drive that to pay for it? You know. I guess the point I'm trying to make is that we don't have to have a truck last 10 years. I mean, right. If we buy a truck and it lasts 3 years, we're way ahead.
Right.
We're way ahead. Plus the tax advantage I got on the truck because because we only pay that much for it. I expensed the whole thing in the year I bought it. So I've got a tax advantage on that thing already because it's now a deduction. Everything I spent on it. I don't pay
Well,
tax.
Yeah, because I'm sitting here thinking, all right, well, fire, theft, and collision, that's all insurable. So the only thing, literally the only thing that can put a truck out to pasture is a broken frame.
Yeah.
You know?
Everything else we can fix.
Everything else we can fix. Well, if it's got good rear, if we're going down the road in it, and we're hauling freight in it, the motor's good, the transmission's good, the rear end's good, the tires are good, everything's good, and the frame breaks, we've got more value in the parts alone. We could literally take the parts and sell them and probably buy 2 trucks, you know. But
or keep them and use them to. I mean,
right?
It's a situation we're in right now with the wreck truck. We got paid for it. I got $2,500 sitting in that pile of stuff. We've already taken $7,000, $8,000 out of that truck in parts we would have paid for. You know, we got a 100,000-mile engine sitting there that's paid for.
Yep. And that's and so to wrap it all up, this is the bottom line. Okay. We could, let's say, for example, we could make YouTube videos, and we could print books, and we could have papers and lessons, and we could try to write down everything we've ever learned, right? And we could sell it. Here it is, $79.95, right? Here's our course. But it's not enough. You have to live it. There's so many things that aren't picking a load, that aren't getting loaded or getting unloaded or shifting gears. There's so many things that you have to experience, and that's what makes this unique. Well, when you experience what we're doing and you watch us Because when something happens, if a driver calls, I'm trying to think of the last one. What was the last one? Driver's truck wouldn't start, and my phone rings at, I don't know, it's 5:30 in the morning. Hey, truck won't start. Well, my mind instantly goes into A, B, C, D, and within an hour the truck was running and he was going down the road. But because I've lived that so many times in so many different ways, I know exactly how to react. I don't ever go, oh my God, what am I going to do? I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, and if that don't work, I'm going to try this, and within a couple of shots, I'm going to have. That's what you have to come here really and learn is how do we mitigate the things that are out of our control.
And it's like you're right. Here's the way I would describe it. Knowing and doing are two different things. Everybody knows how to lose weight. Okay? It's not hard to do. Everybody knows that. But how many people actually do it? Okay? You can know. Let's assume that you know how to drive a truck for profit. Now, most people don't. Well, let's just say they do. When you come here, we make a commitment to you. We're telling you that, look, you're going to make no less than $70,000, $75,000 a year. Now, how do we know that? Because we know we do it every day, and we know how to do it, and we're going to not let you not do it. Did I say that right?
Yes.
In a nice way, we're going to make. Look, you can't come here, okay, and not make that, because if that were to happen, it's because you weren't listening to anything we said, and you weren't doing anything we told you to do. And quite honestly, after about 2 or 3 weeks of that, we're going to have a come to Jesus meeting, okay? And Jesus ain't dying on the cross in this situation. You are, okay? So we're not going. You're in a situation where you're learning all this information, but we're kind of making you do it our way. So you're not only getting the knowledge, but you're getting the actual activity of doing it. It's hands-on. It's earn while you learn. It's do as we say, and by the way, do as we do, So it's not like we're going to sell you a book and say, here's what to do, and then you throw the book over the side and keep doing what you're doing. That's not how this works, We live it with you, just like the guy with the breakdown that morning. Okay, now he knows that happens again, or something else happens again. He develops the ability to triage, just like you just did, because we're walking again. It's that transparent. We could have gotten on the phone and got that all done, but we involved him. You go do this. You go do that. You check this. You do that. Now he understands. You get a load canceled. You call the agent. You do this. You do that. We involve you in the process that we're going through, so that you learn under our supervision what to do. And guess what? In a year and a half of doing that, all you got to do is, if you're in position to go buy your truck, we'll help you do it. And you just keep on doing for yourself what you did for us. And you won't be making $69,322 a year. You'll be making $150,000 minimum. Okay? So you didn't come here to get a $69,000 or a $70,000 or an $80,000 job. You're coming here because you know that as a successful owner-operator, doing business right with low cost and no truck payment, and using numbers to make your decisions, you know that you can make $150,000 to $200,000 at Landstar pulling dry van freight. Okay? Not doing oversized specialty permit stuff. Okay? You know you can do that. That's the lure on the line. Not come over here and have another job that's like yours for a year while we're doing this. And that's my whole point, is we're not trying to give you another job. We're trying to give you the tools and the experience and the know-how and everything it takes to change your identity from that company driver that's making 50 cents a mile. And the only way you can increase your income is to drive more miles. And by the way, run the cost of that truck up. Come here and drive half those miles, make $150,000, $200,000 a year when you own your own truck after this is a no-brainer to me, but this is why I'm so frustrated this week, is because somehow or another, through 26 hours of us talking about this, we have not gotten the point across. We have failed somehow to make the point. So pardon my approach tonight, but I'm trying to make you understand that's what this is about. It's not about giving you a job. It's about changing your life, changing your identity. You're expressing the desire to do this, okay? We're giving you the chance to do it. And by the way, we're going to give you a parallel job in the meantime, if you want to call it that, so it doesn't cost you money to learn. You get to make money while you're learning. And you get to work for a couple of pretty damn nice people, I think. So
most of the time, anyway.
Anyway, I rest my case, Your Honor.
All right.
Prosecution rests.
I agree, but it is such a hard thing, because it's just the society that we live in is one way, and we're doing something completely different and completely counter to everything that everybody else is doing, but we're winning with it, and it works. And we recognize that we're going to have to put this into paper and video somehow, because there's only so many people who can drive for us. Our capacity is so small, and we want other people to be able to learn from this. Because look, y'all, I mean, we don't have to do this. He sure as hell don't have to do it. I could easily get my hands on a truck and go be a BCO and make 150, but I'm doing this because I've lived that hell on earth, and I don't want you to have to go through it. And he's doing this because he has that heart of a teacher, and he enjoys business, and this is his hobby. This is the stuff that he enjoys doing. And so, that's why we're doing this, so, I guess we can call it a night on that one. Hopefully we'll be back to you soon with another episode. Send us an email with any comments or questions. Chris at blueribbonlogistics.com, Larry at blueribbonlogistics.com. We're on Facebook and YouTube. Make sure you go over and subscribe and give us a like on our videos, and we'll see you next time.
Night.